And some of the tangible things I think that got me there was her extreme respect for the children and for the profession. This was not some we're just messing around kind of job, right? If you're there just to mess around and have a good time, quote unquote, she wasn't going to hire you, first of all. If you happen to slip through the interview process, you are not going to last. Because, yes, of course, we have a good time with the children, right? And of course, it's a fun job. But first and foremost, you're a professional. If you have lives at stake, you respect those children and those families, and if you don't, you're out.
Hello, dear listeners. It's that time again when we stroll through the paths of ambition, desire, and success. Welcome to the Dare to Declare podcast, where we explore the enchanting world of giant manifestors who turn their visions and goals into the stuff of legends. I couldn't help but wonder, how do some people create the lives they've always dreamed of? Is it the magic of manifesting, the power of perseverance, or perhaps just a dash of serendipity? Well, dear friends, grab your coffee cups because we're about to spill the tea on fascinating journeys of those who dare to dream big and make it happen. Join me as we sip on success stories and ponder the ever-enticing question, can we all manifest our dreams into reality, or is it just an urban fairy tale? I'm your host, Debbi Sluice, and I'm here to guide you through the labyrinth of achievement with heart and soul. Ready to dare to declare? Let's get started.
Hey everyone, I am so excited to introduce today's guest, Paul Buckley. We just met a few months ago, and the beautiful thing is we have our early years background in common. So I am so stoked to introduce him, to have this amazing conversation today. So he's a previous preschool teacher and a biotech manufacturer leader, now an entrepreneur of sorts, focused on increasing connection between preschool teachers and preschools. Welcome, Paul.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for the welcome, Debbie.
You're welcome. So you were a preschool teacher at a very young age, right?
I started working with children at 17, and that was school-age children first, kindergarten to fifth grade, mainly kindergarten. And then within about 2 years, I began working with preschoolers as well.
And, being that you're male and then, your age, was that an unusual career path where like people wondering, like, what are you doing, Paul? Like, why are you choosing that?
Yeah, in regards to preschool, yes. After school care and recreation, no. Where I was, there were lots of males, and I found the position because my cousin and my friend, both male, were working there. And so they told me about it, and I went and checked it out. And so for the after school care program, not at all, but for preschool, yes. Preschool was very much like um, whatever you want to call it, a unicorn or a the odd person out for sure.
So there must have been someone in leadership that talked you into or supported you to work with preschool kids. Can you tell me a bit about who that might have been?
Yeah, that was Kelly Joe, who I love and talk to today still. She's a recent grandmother. She became like a second mother to me. And luckily, her management abilities, the management style, made it such that I felt so empowered and like I felt so confident, even in the slightest suggestion of her that maybe you should check this out, that I did it. Because I was working with the kindergartners, like I said, first. And so I think with my time there, she saw something, and I was talking to her about looking for additional hours. And she said, well, there is preschool in the morning if you want to check that out. And she said, not many people can transition from school age to preschool, but I think you could. And that was enough. Her belief in me was enough, And so I went and tried it, and it was a blast. I loved it. And Kelly, I owe a ton to this day. She's just a fantastic person and an incredible manager. So thanks to her, I found this love and this passion for working with families, really, is how I look at it, right? Helping the community is how I look at it.
I don't want to jump too far ahead to what you're doing now, but I do want to pause here for a moment to just talk about her and her leadership. So one of the things you're talking about is belief. So she believed in you before you could even believe in yourself. So that is, again, a great sign of an amazing leader. And so what else would you say made you admire her as the leader that she was, and creating this beautiful culture, retaining employees, all those things? Because I think, like, I do have listeners here who also have an early years background. I think this will be really beneficial to know and to not just gloss over this piece.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks, Debbie. There's so many things she did, right? There's so many things. Ultimately, it's how she made you feel, how I felt when I was around her, right? And some of the tangible things I think that got me there was her extreme respect for the children and for the profession. This was not some we're just messing around kind of job, right? If you're there just to mess around and have a good time, quote unquote, you were not, she wasn't going to hire you, first of all. If you happen to slip through the interview process, you are not going to last.
Yeah.
Because, yes, of course, we have a good time with the children, right? And of course, it's a fun job. But first and foremost, you're a professional.
Right.
You have lives at stake. You respect those children and those families. And if you don't, you're out. There were no playing around when it came to that. And I loved that. I loved it. My mom is a big part of my life, and is so involved in all her grandkids' lives and her kids' lives. And I think has some of that same approach to children and people in general. You respect people, or you treat people with respect. And when it comes to children, it's extreme and supreme respect, right? It's a small human, a small child. And Kelly made that clear from day one, right off the bat. And when you were new, she would come visit you at your site and see how you're doing. And of course, it was professionally checking to ensure you're performing properly, but also she cared about her employees. It didn't feel like the boss coming to check on you, even though it was, but not really, right? It was partially that, but it was more she cared and she wanted to see how you were doing personally. So she had extreme respect for the profession and the families. She respected her staff as people and individuals and would work with you individually. And that was clear, right? She also would do those other little things that she didn't have to do. And they maybe sound in today's world normal, maybe. I don't know. I've kind of been out of the corporate world for a while now, but she would have regular staff meetings, of course, and there was always food there. She would pay for food, right? She would pay for dinner for the staff meeting.
Even they will come, yes.
Yeah. It's just like, it's not like we were making a lot of money back then either, And so extra food was nice. And so she would have food there. During the summer camps, we would have a scavenger hunt thing that you didn't have to be involved in, but almost all the staff did. It was fun. She made things fun and she made things genuine because she's a genuine person. She genuinely cared about you and the children. And it's something that wasn't taught, right? It's who she is.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were, maybe that's kind of a blurry answer, but there were a number of intangible things she did and tangible things, right? The tangible being the respect and structure of the position and the work, and then intangibly her care.
Yeah.
And so when she suggested something, her words held a lot of weight. So when Kelly said something, like, we did it and we believed it, and that was the name of the game.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're a father. You talked about your mom and the grandchildren. And so being a dad, what would you say that you've pulled from your years working with preschool and school age?
Yeah. Some of those things Kelly talked about, little things I didn't think about till they were said out loud. Like when someone shows up and walks in the room, you greet them by name, right? It feels good. Someone, hey, Paul, and you come in the room, I like it. It feels nice, And when I see my boys, I say, hey, and I say their name, of course. And that's a little thing that maybe is naturally around the house now, of course, done. But like something like that, like acknowledging, seeing, respecting, and something that's really come into view as a parent is slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
Slowing down my thought, slowing down my behavior, slowing down my actions. And something for sure that I've taken from working with children is my energy. Your energy goes a long way. The children feel it, they react to it, they behave different. Like, I think the adult really sets the tone. And something that she taught us, and especially I learned in preschool, is the children maybe don't have to know you're setting the tone either, right? Unbeknownst to them, you're creating a safe, structured environment for them to explore in.
Right.
This idea of the scaffold, and so I definitely think about that with my own kids. Is unbeknownst to them, we're trying to create, and I think we do create. My wife and I, 'cause she's also a preschool teacher. I think we we do create an environment that's safe and structured and fun. It allows them to explore with confidence within the structure. I've learned definitely all of that from working with children and working with Kelly.
Hmm. It's making me think about a document that we have in Ontario, Canada called How Does Learning Happen? And it was introduced a number of years ago. And it talks about the view of the child. So there's view of the parent, view of the child, view of the educator, but seeing the child as capable, competent, curious, and rich in potential. And so when you realize that, yes, educators instinctively knew that, like you were talking about your leader, like Kelly, but when it's named like that, and that's the standard to say, this is how we respect one another, this is how we respect children, then instead of seeing it as behaviors, like I'm using air quotes here, that you're like, oh no, that child's just curious. Like they're dumping
Yeah.
everything. That's just their natural way of being. Like, what happens when I do this? So I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah, me too. Because that's something I think about. I remind myself this idea that it's not the child's job for my job as a parent to be easier. Mine's the harder job, right? It's supposed to be it's hard. It's supposed to be hard for me because I'm the parent, right? It's supposed to be more difficult. My decisions should be made to make my life easier in the day, quote unquote, easier. Decisions are made so they can explore and live their life and grow. That might be more of a challenge for me at times, and that's fine. That's my job as the adult, right? To be ushering someone through the day and through their life, right? And I love that document you guys have up there. That's it's certainly how I feel.
Mm-hmm. And then when you talked about energy, it makes me think about self-regulation. And I know there's an institute here in Canada around Dr. Stuart Shanker, and this idea of regulation. And I know a lot of adults, like Mel Robbins in her book, Let Them Theory, says that people are walking around, most of us, with like 8-year-old capability of self-regulating. That's pretty scary considering we as adults have the tougher job, right? We're the ones supposed to be regulating the energy. But if we're not even aware of our own energy, and, I like this quote that says, your energy introduces you before you even walk into a room. And you're so right. Kids can feel it. Animals can feel it. Adults too, but I think we kind of got numb to it. Like we don't really pay attention as much. So I love that idea as well of energy. So what are some of the ways that you and your wife protect your energy and keep your energy in a positive way for your work, your family? Do you have any ways that you do that?
Yeah, me personally, it's this balance of, trusting a power greater than myself, right? And getting myself kind of right before interacting with the kids if I have time.
Mm-hmm.
Our boys get up early, 5:30 and 6 in the morning, and so they come wake me up.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I passed those days.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're up
no.
early risers. They're early to bed and early to get up.
Yep.
So, and so I'll ask them to give me a minute, before I get out of bed. And I'll lay in bed and I'll pause and I'll pray. I'll ask for help and support, right? And to guide me, right? And then throughout the day, I can feel myself getting off course, and I try and come back. And when I can, because I can't always do it, right? I'm not perfect. I ask the boys, hey, give me a second. I'll get some food or some water. Maybe it's time for all of us to have some downtime, right? But I guess what I do is I try and focus on those old adages, that old wisdom of putting the mask on first, taking care of myself first, that kind of thing. Then remembering that's not selfish or irresponsible to put my health and my wellness first. Because if I'm not well and present and calm, I'm going to be a worse father.
Yeah.
So that time taken, maybe to take a minute and breathe, get some food or some water, step away for a minute, that few minutes is worth it. Because if I don't, it can then become an hour of time that's not great for people, or whatever, a day that's not great for all of us, right? So I pause, I pray, I drink water, I eat the best I can. I try and get out and move my body when I can when they're at school. So I try and focus on my own emotional and spiritual state first, to kind of have that buffer. I call it a spiritual buffer.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it becomes too much. And I don't think I'm supposed to know it all or be it all or do it all. I don't believe that's how things work. So, and I try and keep things, like I said, slow, and I try and plan extra time in always. So I start feeling that time crunch, and I get my anxiety kicks up, or my patience shortens, I should say, right? And then forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can't get anything done, So I try and build in extra time. I try and do fewer things in the day. I don't try and pack in too much in the day. I try and be present.
I really appreciate that. That is something I'm still working on. Neurodivergency is somewhere in my makeup around ADHD, and I always think that I've got more time and I can just do a little bit more. And I think it has something to do also maybe a bit with scarcity. Like I've been tying that recently to kind of that scarcity mindset too, or FOMO. I don't know, it's kind of all wrapped together. But this idea of sophistication with your time, like relaxing, trusting, knowing that if I give myself more time, it's kind of like a luxury kind of way of being too, like sauntering maybe a little bit instead of just being on that urgency rush kind of train. So I really appreciate you saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I work on, because I think I have some of that scarcity mindset too, and it's something that isn't necessarily intuitive, or I shouldn't say intuitive. If I listen to that, whatever that part of my brain, it can feel like I'm being irresponsible, right? It can feel like I'm not putting tasks and goals and things first. And it feels like I'm not putting my time first and that kind of thing, or our time first. And once that part creeps in, and I end up, if I listen to it and go that way, 9 times out of 10, it's not the right way to go, actually, for me.
Mm-hmm.
When I pause and slow down and I'm present and I do what the day brings to me, I end up being more productive, emotionally and literally, and I end up finding myself in positions that are more successful than not. And it's just something that has been proven to me so many times from doing it, but I still want to question it. I don't know if that's a human condition thing or a societal thing or what, but I definitely have to work against it.
Yeah.
Right? I have to work against it. And it's been proven right to me, like I said, so many times, that I know it to be true, so I would do it. But I do have to work against that other notion of like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You got to go hurry up and do this.
Yeah.
What do you mean? You have to go, you don't have time for this. You have a business to build and kids to feed. And what are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Get out there and start doing it. Like, what are you doing?
Little angel devil, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's still good. I really appreciate you going down this path with me. So let's go back to your resume. And so you're in your 20s, right? Is that when you left the childcare field or before that?
Yeah, I was 24, I think.
And then you went into biotech?
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah.
Like how? Like
I know.
where were the preschool kids there?
I know. And I still was involved because I still would go back and help Kelly and like volunteer on weekend events and stuff.
Wow.
And so I still was involved with children even for years after leaving it as full-time employment. But I left to go to the biotech field in 2006. Yeah. So I was 25. Yeah, I was 25. And I got there because I got burned out in the classroom. I was at a corporate preschool where the bottom line was it. That was the focus, was the bottom line. I don't begrudge them. They're allowed. That's a for-profit business. So I was the one who went there and accepted the job. So, but 2 years of working in that kind of environment was enough for me to need a break.
Hmm.
And someone I knew there knew someone who knew someone's brother's cousin kind of situation. And they said, hey, they're hiring at this company, which I'd heard of. Is now the world's largest biotech company, and it's considered the founding company of it, who gave birth to biotech. And so I got offered a temporary role there, and that's how I got there. And when even I went for the tour for the job, I was like, you know, it was so different. And you're wearing the hairnet and the beard cover and the coat and everything, and it was so different. And I was nervous because it was unknown. But then they told me what I would make per hour, and I got paid every week. And I get paid every week. And I was like, well, guess what? I, I'm in. It was way more money than I was making as a preschool teacher, unfortunately,
Yeah,
right?
I know.
And I'm getting paid every week, every Friday. And I was like, well, I'll figure this out. Let me go give it a shot. And that's how I got in
Yeah. And you stayed there how long?
for almost 10 years. Yeah. And
So
while I was there, you go,
I was just going to say about the corporate childcare situation. I used to have employees. I think my listeners know, but I spent 30 years in childcare, and I would have employees that would come right out of college and come to my center. And I pride myself. I think it was a lot like your mentor, like in the way that I offered our childcare and our culture. I was kind of a no BS kind of director as well, but I was respected. I respected my employees. All the things you were talking about definitely resonate with me. But I would sometimes be frustrated with some of my employees because they would complain about, because it's still underpaid, the profession. It doesn't offer all the perks like some of their, colleagues would be in the school and so forth. And I'd be like, man, if you could only, maybe you should go to some place where, if you only knew what some other places were like, you'd be like, woo, bring me here. So, but it is, I think it is good sometimes to know what you don't want. I mean, I remember being on placements in college where you would spend 4 weeks at a childcare, and I'd be like, yeah, I don't want to work in a place like that. And yes, I love a place like this, or this could mix a little bit. So this brings me to where you're at now. And so can you jump so you went from the white coat lab, the hairnet and all the things to a good paycheck. And then you're like, I'm going to be a stay-at-home dad, right?
yeah. Yeah, because while I was at that biotech company, my background with children allowed me to succeed. And I got promoted very quickly.
Ooh, tell us more about
And
that.
so
That is really curious.
yeah,
Interesting to me.
yeah, because it's teamwork. It's a team environment.
Mm-hmm.
And you're governed by the FDA here in the States. And you get audited by the FDA and the European Union, other countries come and audit you. And so you had to follow certain rules, which for me was easy. To me was like, oh, this is like a cheat sheet. You're going to give me the regulations, you're going to give me an SOP. I just got to follow this. Okay. Like that's easy. I can follow rules. And on top of that, I'm coming from a childcare background where some mistakes you just don't make. They just don't happen, right? My first mentor when I was 13 taught me it's okay to make the mistake and make more mistakes as long as you learn from it. Don't make the same mistake twice, right? And so, and with children, then Kelly then reaffirmed that with, their name. Like, of course. You know their allergies. Of course. You know how many children you have. Of course. Like, these are not complicated things. And some things just do not happen with children under my watch, right? Not going to happen. So I'm now in an environment where it's the same thing, except it's the government saying these things are not going to happen. And I'm going, sure. And so that for me was easy. So production wise, I stood out. And then team environment wise, I stood out because I'm used to working with a team. It's what I like to do. I like to interact with people. And so I got promoted to then now manage teams. And so my teams would end up outproducing lots and lots of teams because everyone's happy. We're getting along, right? It's an environment where I'm respecting you.
Right.
and seeing you and acknowledging you
Right.
and doing the different things Kelly showed me to do. And so my team succeeded. And so I got to learn a lot because of that. I got to go around different sites in different areas of the world, and I got to learn a lot. And over time, I began to see that I was learning a lot and I was enjoying my time and I was helping people, but I was still at the mercy of the corporate's requirements as in regard to headcount, who I could hire, when I could hire them, and that kind of thing.
Mm.
And I got married, and we started talking about having children. And once Alexis was pregnant with our first son, in my mind, I'm going, I don't want to leave my baby to go do this work. There's nothing wrong with it. And the company's great, and they treat me well, and the paycheck's great. And I love helping my employees, but I don't want to leave my baby and then go help them and come home and tell my baby what I did. I don't want to tell them that, you know? And I've been thinking about leaving already anyway for a couple of years. And so finally, once we learned we were pregnant and we were telling people, I told my boss in January, I said, hey, we're having a baby. And it wasn't January, but yeah, it was. And I said, I gotta go. And so I said, in 6 months, I'm gonna leave. In July, I'm gonna go. And so I gave him 6 months notice. And I did a lot of things for him before I left. And once I left, that was it. I cashed everything out I had from there. And I stayed home with our first son and spent all that money, and I would do it again. I would spend twice the amount of money if I had it to stay home even longer if I could.
Mm-hmm.
And I stayed home with him, our first son, Owen, and stayed home. And it was a fantastic 2 years. I wouldn't ever change and never give up for the world.
Beautiful. Amazing.
Yeah.
Because, you also don't really have a maternity leave program, right? Like in your state, or do you?
There's maternity, but there's no paternity.
Oh, okay.
So I wouldn't. The company offered it because it was such a good company that I could have time off from them, but it wouldn't have been anything close to, 2 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Not even a year, little, So, and while I was home with him, the idea of ratio staffing came to be.
Yeah. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I was home with him, and Alexis, my wife, is been a preschool teacher and working with children her entire life. And she was still a teacher, of course, at the time. And the school that she works at now, she's been there 15, 16 years now. They were unable to find a new assistant director. They've been looking for about a year.
Wow.
So my first year home with Owen, they couldn't find their assistant director. And this was a classic case scenario I've come to learn now, where the school only ever had one founder and director, right? And then when they retired, it turns out they're doing 3-4 jobs. And so, right. And so now they had hired all these additional people. Yeah. Yeah. And she's a fantastic woman, still involved in the industry and as an author and everything. And so they'd hired an assistant director or a new director, or they went through the transition process. But the associate director or assistant director was moving on. And so they couldn't find one. They'd been looking for a year. So I got wind of it. And so I asked if I could just review their process. Could I volunteer and help out with their process? Because coming from the production background, I'd learned all about process improvements, efficiency gains, I got my Six Sigma green belt, right, all this kind of stuff. And so I said, can I see your process? And instead, the director said, why don't you come on board and we'll pay you? And I said, okay. And so I helped them with their search, and we found someone in 2 months. And that's their current associate director still to this day.
Wow.
Yeah. And I figured it was just like a fluke because I knew the school very well, and, and I was unaware of the landscape at the time, the preschool hiring landscape. And I didn't know it was what it is back then and today still.
And how long ago was that?
That was 9 years ago.
Okay. So pre-COVID.
Yeah, pre-COVID. Yeah.
Okay.
And what happened was after that got done, I heard word got out basically, slowly but surely, that there was someone who would help you with your hiring needs. And I was doing it in the beginning only with schools that I knew personally and schools that my wife's school referred me to, right? Other directors they knew. And I would go and meet with the school for about a month and spend time with them at the school, in the classroom, with the teachers, getting to know everyone. And once I did that, I would then take over your hiring burden for you. And I'd run your hiring, I'd run your job posting, I would do your resume screening, initial interviews, all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And it turned out in the Bay Area at the time, and now I know it's everywhere, there's a real gap between schools and teachers finding each other.
Mm-hmm.
Both parties exist. They just can't connect
Mm-hmm.
for a number of reasons I found out now. And so slowly but surely, I began working with dozens and dozens of preschools in the SF Bay Area. And over time, I then began to offer different features, different offerings, I guess I would say, or should say. And some of those then included real-time substitutes, as well as recruiting for you. And where we are today now is we have a full-blown platform that offers all the hiring needs the school, all the hiring features the school needs, with me out of it.
That's amazing. And so that platform, who's using it?
Preschools use it
Mm-hmm.
for all their hiring needs. So a preschool can make a profile, post jobs, receive applications to those jobs. They can search resumes, save resumes, contact teachers directly, and vice versa. Preschool teachers can create a profile, search schools, save schools, apply to the jobs, all that kind of stuff. And we do it because there needs to be this kind of connection and platform, right? There needs to be ease of access to each other. And we're the only platform where it's guaranteed ECE educators on the platform. There's no other noise. There's only preschools and ECE educators on there. That's it.
Right.
There's no one else on there. So you have a real quality bank of resumes because they're only preschool teachers on there. And I shouldn't just say preschool teachers, because we have preschool teachers, enrichment teachers, speech pathologists, and and supply teachers, right? In the States we call them subs.
Yeah.
And I believe in Canada you call them supply teachers, right? So we have supply teachers on there also. And so now, thanks to this new platform and the software, we serve multiple communities. So not just the SF Bay Area, and we actually have profiles now in Toronto.
Yeah, that's where you and I met.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so that's how
Yep.
the Toronto expansion got started.
Mm-hmm.
It was going up to the conference, the Everything ECE conference, and getting to know the community up there.
And the need is just as great as in the United States. You know, you shared, I think it's like a manifestation story, something that it's your tech partner. Can you tell a little bit about how that came about with the technology background and that partnership?
Yeah, I'm not in tech, as we know. I'm not a tech guy. But luckily I live in the tech hub of the country here and maybe the world. Our oldest son, or our first son, Owen, has a friend at school. We're friendly with his parents. And one day our friend Claudia overheard a gentleman at school talking about substitutes and finding substitutes for a school. He's a tech guy, and he was just discussing with her how it seemed so impossible to find teachers and find subs, and he wants to kind of get involved in helping schools find teachers and this kind of thing. And so Claudia tells him, "Oh, you should go talk to Paul, because Paul's like working on a sub thing, you know." so he and I get together and have coffee, and he's just asking me all about what I'm doing. And at the time, it was just a manual process, a manual platform on my website, and I was doing all of it. And I was explaining to him what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And I gave him the kind of rundown of the landscape of the current landscape of the staffing industry with preschools and things. And it was a nice chat, and I didn't think anything else of it. And so um, we said goodbye, and then about a month later, I emailed him to ask him to coffee again, because I figured now that he knows what's going on and the industry he's in, maybe he could give me some feedback on potentially finding a tech partner or finding an investor, so we could build out the platform we have today. And before I even got a word out, he said, "Paul, I want to work with you. I want to be a tech partner for you. I want to build this thing out." And I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. And he had the whole vision I had. He had the same vision. He saw it. He knew it. He could see the potential. He saw the need. He knew the need, and he cared, which is what I wanted to hear most. He cared about what was going on, and cares about what's going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so he,
Yep. Sorry.
go ahead.
No, you finish.
Yeah, he cared about the mission behind what we were trying to do, right? Which is ultimately helping children have a better day,
Mm-hmm.
right? And especially in the Bay Area, that's the Bay Area where it's so expensive and so difficult to live. The idea of allowing teachers and schools to find each other helps teachers gain employment, right? Helps them increase their income, helps them stay in the Bay Area, helps them stay in the field and keep working with children where we need them.
Yeah.
And where children need them, right? And Rahman, my tech partner, he saw that. And I know he saw it because he repeated it, he said it to me without me saying it, right? He said the same things in my mind out loud without me telling him first, right? So it was really a serendipitous kind of thing that I still can't believe happened. And that was about a year and a half ago now.
Oh, not long.
And
Yeah.
not long ago. No.
No.
And actually my father had just passed away in June of 2024. Armand and I met in May of 2024. We agreed to work together, and then my father passed away in June of 2024, and that's when everything began. Yes, that's when everything began to build. And in some ways, it was that reminder that there's, my father's passing reminded me and got me motivated.
How so?
Right, and because I believe in the idea that I don't always get to ask for how the gift is wrapped,
Mm.
right? My father's passing was hard and still hurts, but I think about the idea of it being good for him and hard for me, right? Good for him, he's moved on to somewhere better, and in the ways it was a gift is that it motivated me to get moving,
Right.
to believe again what I'm doing, right? And that we're not guaranteed anything. And I believe in what I'm doing. I'm doing the right things. Let's get started. And it also, in some ways, it's not fear that washed away from me, but this kind of feeling of, I had less concern of being judged when he passed away. There wasn't this concern of like, what's someone going to think of my business or think of me starting a business like this? Like, what are they going to say? That all kind of washed away. So I wasn't concerned with calling people and saying, here's what I'm doing, or I'm doing this, and trying to find collaborations and getting out there in the world. It motivated me to get out there.
Yeah.
And these concerns I had before, I didn't necessarily knew I had that many or had them that severely, went away with his passing.
Yeah, that makes so much
And
sense.
yeah, and so the platform just finished being built August of 2025.
There you go. So we are definitely on the cusp of something really amazing here. So for anyone who is a preschool teacher, is running a preschool, Canadian or American, you want to talk to Paul. I love your mission around having educators stay within the field. Because I know some have left because they felt like they had no choice.
Right.
And so this is your mission, is to make it a better work culture, to support administration, because I'm sure it's the same in the United States as it is in Canada. There seems to be less and less support, as you said, like directors and founders, they're working 3 jobs and being paid for 1. And so having this kind of support, one of the things that you said around Kelly was that if you slip through the hiring practice, and, that is so key. It's key to success, is to hire carefully, like to have a really stringent interview process. And, I felt the pressure at times from the government to fill playrooms, to fill, and I'd say, look, I'm not bringing in bodies. I'm not bringing in people just because they're qualified doesn't mean they're the right fit for here. And so
Right.
having that kind of support, like, where you initially paid attention, got into the organizations, found out what the culture was, and then help them hire, I think is so smart, because when you have the right people and that they want to stay because they're happy and they love what they do, which I think most educators, they get into the field because they love children, they love what they do, but for various reasons, it's just stretched to the max with resources. So I love that you're finding that problem, solving that problem, but that your mission is so much bigger, in that, yes, for helping people stay within it, but it's about the kids, but also, to help people find their calm.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's what we say. Like, if I can bring some calm to the day, if I'm a director and I know I can find a teacher real time to come in, a supply teacher, I'm that much calmer.
Mm-hmm.
And as a supply teacher, if I know I can say yes or no and have the agency to go there or not, my own personal agency, how much more calm am I when I get there?
Yes.
Everyone's calm.
Right.
Then the energy is different. Energy is entirely different. And even if I'm not going to use supply teachers, because that's not the way I run my preschool, our platform is so much more affordable. You can take your time. You're not burning through your budget with clicks with the other large platforms. It's not click, 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 you're being charged. It's not that at all.
Oh, okay.
There are no hidden fees, right? I'm not sure how much it's going to cost me today, because who knows how many clicks I'm going to get today. There's none of that. You choose the tools you need. You pay for them for 30 days. That's it. Set fees, set rates, nothing hidden, no games, right? No, there's none of this. And it's not going to be clicks and applications from someone outside the industry. It's only teachers. And even if you don't want to do that, you don't want to wait for them to come apply for you, don't pay for a job posting. Choose a resume search feature instead and find them on your own.
Right.
Right? Or use the supply teach feature instead and have people come in and supply teach and get to know them for a little while.
Right.
And same as teachers. I understand the fear around your resume looking a certain way or having a set work schedule and that kind of thing. Of course, like, I get it. I've been a preschool teacher and other jobs prior when I was even younger at 13. And so we want a set schedule. We want set money. I get it. But the demand is so great. You can be a supply teacher and take your time also and go explore philosophies you like or don't like. Go explore age groups you like. Go take your time and find your home. And your resume will look fine because you can just put ratio staffing as your current one job, right? So your resume doesn't look like you had a bunch of different schools on there if you're worried about that. So it is this idea of bringing the calm to the world and letting everyone know it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. There's schools there. There are teachers there. It's okay. We'll help you find each other on this platform, via the platform, and it's going to be all right. And, and that's why I think about the idea of winning together. I don't have the platform so I can win, quote unquote. It's not how I live. It's not how I think. It's not what I do. I have it so we all can win together. I don't believe in winning in a silo or winning alone. I don't believe in any of that. I believe in us moving forward together.
Yeah.
And that's what the platform's for.
It's amazing. So I'm going to have you tell people where they can find it in a sec. I just also want to mention that you and I are winning together, and that you're going to be supporting the conference that we've got going on in Niagara-on-the-Lake, June 3rd to the 5th, 2026. And so you're a sponsor, helping us out with our swag bags, bringing the fun to the conference, which talked about fun, of course. So I just so appreciate you. And so where can people find your platform and find out more about you?
Yeah, it's ratiostaffing.com. You can go there and you'll see me on there. If you're a preschool in Canada, use the promo code Canada for 30 days promo. If you're in the US, you use Get In Ratio. And it's there on the website for you. It's very simple. The ratiostaffing.com. You go there, make a profile, sign up, Put your promo code in, you can check it out. If you need more than 30 days, just contact me. When you fill out the contact form on the website, it comes to me. I get it. I'll call you back. I'll email you back. You can talk to me.
Yeah.
We can get you more time and work things out to make sure it works for you. And for educators, there's no charge ever. You go on there and make your profile, and you select, there's a few buckets to select for your profile. And I think we've covered what's important to teachers in preschools, I believe, in the profiles. It's very intentionally made, again, for just preschools. So you'll be able to select the philosophies you have experience with, the age groups you have experience with, the languages you speak, your education, all that kind of stuff that we know preschools and teachers care about without everything else. And we don't do photos of people. You don't have to worry about that. There's no photos of anyone on there. It's all intentionally made just for preschools and teachers to find each other.
Paul, this has been a delight. I love going back into my roots with early years and talking to you and listening how you and your wife and with your company, you're solving a real world problem and supporting families and children. So thank you so much. Like I said, I'm so excited to continue our work together into 2026. And for the listener, be bold like Paul and be audacious and don't worry what other people think. And remember to dare to declare. Cheers. Today, we've delved into the realm of manifesting giants, exploring the power of declaring our desires to the universe with unapologetic boldness. But before we bid adieu, I have a little something special to share with all of you dreamers out there. Introducing the Dare to Declare Vision Board magazine and online DIY Vision Board course, your ticket to manifesting greatness in style. Picture this. Flipping through pages filled with inspiring images, empowering quotes, and step-by-step guides to help you create the vision board of your dreams. Whether you're yearning for that spacious condo with a view or a love that sets your soul on fire, our magazine is here to guide you every step of the way. Dive deep into the art of manifesting with our exclusive online DIY vision board course. Led by manifesting expert, yes, yours truly, and seasoned dreamers. This course will teach you the ins and outs of creating a vision board that speaks to your heart and soul. So what are you waiting for? Join the ranks of the manifesting giants and dare to declare your wildest dreams to the universe. Head over to our website, debbisluice.com, and grab your copy of the Dare to Declare Vision Board magazine and enroll in our online DIY Vision Board course today. Until next time, keep dreaming big and daring to declare, because in the world of manifesting, the sky's the limit.